These are times when wrestlers were punished for going off script, starting with Aiden English, Rusev, Baron Corbin, the Usos, AJ Styles, and a referee. Back in 2018, after a SmackDown Live taping, there was a dark match featuring all those names in a 6-man tag team match. It was supposed to be a fun way to send the fans home happy, but things got way out of hand. The wrestlers started joking around mid-match, turning it into a full-on super kick party, complete with over-the-top selling, comedy spots, and even the referee hitting a super kick. While the crowd loved it, WWE management did not. The word was that the backstage higher-ups were not happy at all, and they considered the match completely unprofessional and threatened all the wrestlers and the referee with a $20,000 fine each. And worse, some were reportedly told that they could even be released for not taking things seriously. But that is when John Cena stepped in. Even though he wasn't involved in the match at all, John Cena found out about the situation and decided to pay every single fine out of his own pocket. That's over $120,000 just to protect the boys in the back, and you gotta respect that. This is what Aiden English said about the incident.
This story, I'm surprised I haven't told yet because I think I tried to block it out. So WWE has dark matches. Those who don't know, a dark match is a match that takes place before or after a television taping for just the live audience, not for televised production. Just to send them home happy, having fun. So no matter what happened at the end of TV, you get some kind of nice, big, fun match at the end of the night. And keep in mind, these were famous for all the antics of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Chris Jericho. These guys would go out there and goof and have like these parties, and Stone Cold would drink beers for 10 minutes and flip everyone off and roll down the ramp on a director's chair and things like that. Like all sorts of things would happen. And so it was kind of its opportunity to take the stress off, take the seriousness of TV and everything off. And you end up with some really cool stuff and fun moments. So I was a part of one of those one time, where it was me, Rusev, and Baron Corbin versus the Usos and AJ Styles. 6-man tag, went out there, had a blast, and then in the conclusion, the Usos, who've been known to throw several super kicks, we decided we were going to do something funny where they start throwing a super kick party. They start throwing kick after kick after kick, and we just all keep feeding in, just non-stop. It's going to go for like 5 minutes, and then eventually I was going to roll out, and my partners were going to kind of turn their back on me and just keep feeding me in, right? And so the way we kind of briefly talked about it was throw me in, throw me in, throw me in. Eventually, I told everyone to stop, and then I was going to kick them and be like, screw you, turn around, I get kicked one more time, and it's over. One, two, pin on me. But as we go, they kick. Everybody's kicked pretty much in the match, except the referee. And so the audience starts chanting, referee, referees. They think I go out again, they roll me back one more time, and there's the referee kicks me. I go, God, everybody exploded. The crowd loved it. And now I figured we were going to go to the ending, which was the big stop and kick and blah, blah, blah. Oh, so I go back in more time. I tell everybody to stop. But then everyone's chanting, ref. And there AJ starts taking the referee's shirt off, puts it on himself, and is like, kick his ass, kick you, whatever. I don't know what's going on. I'm filming him like, are we going to do the original finish? I guess not. But we're going to do something with the ref, Dan. And then, sure enough, it made me start lining up. Like, yeah, everybody kick. So, boom, triple kick on all of us. Right? AJ jumps over. 1, 2, 3. Rusev, of course, kicks out from the referee. Protect yourself, both times. End of the audience pop. It's a blast. End of SmackDown. End of a long weekend for us. It was great. The audience loved it. We get backstage and we get chewed a new one. Vince McMahon was there. Triple H was there, but the producers, the TR people, for some reason, because I'm convinced because it was us and not some other major star. That's not how you do it. What do you buried yourselves out there? You buried the business and made this look like all this and that. People are not going to like this. At least it was the SmackDown, I believe, before WrestleMania. And we didn't fly right down to New Orleans for WrestleMania. And we get sat down and we got threatened with release, with gigantic fines, $10,000, $20,000 fines, all that stuff. The referee's gonna get fired and everything, even though we're all telling him, hey, do it. This is great. This is fun. The poor guy, he got fined and everything. We got sat down at WrestleMania in the green room at the hotel. Quarters are, well, we know you guys are good, but it was unbelievable. For having some fun. We may have heard Lucid tell the story, but that's the time I almost got fired for having fun in a WWE dark match. Hopefully that kind of fun can return and we won't have to worry about that.
Even The Undertaker and Triple H were not immune from being punished for going off script. At WrestleMania 27, the two men decided to go off script by delivering a chair shot to the head in their show-stealing matchup. Due to WWE's protocol relating to chair shots and concussions, chair shots to the head were banned and nobody was given permission to use the spot in any of their matches. McMahon would issue substantial fines to both men, and according to the Dead Man, McMahon needed to set an example by fining two of his biggest names. This is what The Undertaker said about the incident on his podcast, 6 Feet Under.
Even after they banned the chair shots, so I'm wrestling Triple H, and we're figuring like, well, I'm the most tenured guy here. You're his son-in-law. Surely we can get away with it. Nah. He fined our ass too. I remember getting my check. for WrestleMania, and there was that big minus on there, and I was like, son of a. And I called him up right away. I said, did you get fined? And he was like, yeah, I got fined too. And I was like, what the hell good is it to be his son-in-law or his most tenured guy and you still can't, but he had to set an example, right? And that's what he did.
Enzo Amore explains how a fart got him fired from WWE and derailed his NXT career.
I farted in a Dusty Rhodes promo class, to which Dusty Rhodes kicked me out of it, got me fired that night, called up Triple H in the morning and got me rehired. Then I got fined for farting. I got taken off shows, and I think me and Big Cass went on a losing streak for a while in NXT.
How bad was the fart?
It was the loudest fart I've ever ripped in my entire life. Man, I thought that Dusty would think it was funny because Baron Corbin was up there cutting a terrible promo, so I just raised my hand and farted.
When WWE turned into a PG product in the summer of 2008, they implemented a ban on blading and blood. This meant that moving forward, matches would not be scripted to contain bloodshed, and this upset a lot of wrestlers as they believed certain matches, such as cage matches, needed blood to sell the intensity of the action. Batista was one of the names that strongly believed this, and when Batista bladed during his cage match versus Chris Jericho, McMahon wanted to make an example out of everyone involved. Batista was reportedly fined $100,000, and fines were issued to Jericho, the referee, and the agent of the match, Dean Malenko. Batista would end up paying for everyone's fine due to it being kind of his idea, and according to the man himself, during an appearance on Talk is Jericho, he believed that the fines were extremely harsh.
It's a crazy story with dealing with Vince and you and I. Happened here in Tampa.
God.
How crazy was that?
Yeah.
This is.
You want to tell the story?
Let's tell it.
Let's tell it.
I wrote about it in my book, so people are going to hear about it pretty soon, anyways. But so we're in Tampa, and the idea was I was the world champ. I had a lot of heat with the fans, like as a big heel.
Right.
And we did what was it called? Taboo Tuesday or Cyber Sunday.
Yeah.
And the idea was that the fans would pick the referee. Right. And Vince said to me, listen, we want to put Dave over because we want people to know that when they invest in this pay-per-view, that their opinion counts.
Right.
But you'll win it back.
We'll give it right back to you.
The next week in Tampa, in the cage match.
Right.
So we get to the Tampa for the cage match.
Right. And we had a great match.
Yeah, we did.
It was a great win. I was, of course, you were going over, and, we knew how you were going over with them. And I just thought, this was a point where we weren't shedding blood anymore.
Yeah.
We're PG. And I just didn't want to hear that because it made no sense to me, especially when there's a title match involved. And
yes.
I was just still, it was still instilled in me that when you get hit over the head with a metal pipe, you bleed.
Because we were in a cage, too.
When we were in a cage, it was like, it just made sense. And so I decided.
Yeah, the finish was that I had some kind of a brass knuckle or a pipe on top of the cage. Yeah, it was a
pipe that you reached off the top of the cage.
And you were going to powerbomb me off the top rope, but I grabbed the pipe and hit you with it.
Yeah. So anyway, so I ended up, I did what I thought was the right thing to do, and I shed a little blood for business, and of course I got hard weight as well. So
I think we tried to mask it as being hard weight. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of bleeding all over the place. But yeah, so we.
But let me say this though, it was a really good match.
It was a great match, man.
It was a great match. I remember there's some great stuff in there.
It was. I can't believe that we had to deal with grief over that, man. We did.
Right.
What kills me too is I got, of course, you got the big fine.
Well, let's slow down a bit. So we come back through the curtain, and we've had this great cage match. And it was like you said, there's the heel beat Batista for the title.
Right.
Come back through the curtain, and then there's a lot of yelling and screaming going on.
Very uncomfortable
because Dave had there was some blood involved. So Vince said, I'm not going to talk about this with any of you guys.
Right.
I'll see you next week, and I'll decide what your punishment is. Now, I called him on the way home, and I called him.
You weren't very nice about your phone call, were you?
Well, I was like, listen, Vince, I'll take responsibility for it, but this match was great. Like, I'm the vet. And he's like, shut up, F off. I don't want to talk to you. I'll talk to you next week. Go F yourself. But the call was 18 seconds long. That was it. Boom. So we have a whole European tour. And we got to worry about what's going to happen on Monday.
Oh, man.
So do you remember Monday? TV finishes and they lead us into an office.
Yeah, so... so they've got this monitor set up in front of a mirror, and we're sitting down like three kids in trouble with Vince pacing behind us. Yes. He has like a toothpick in his mouth.
Yes. Is it me, Dave, Dean, Dean Malenko, who was the producer of the match, and Mike Chioda, who was the ref.
And
Johnny Ace
was in there, right? Yeah. So Vince is pacing back like the detective, and we're being interrogated. Yeah. And then they start playing the playbacks in slow motion with the highlights, like it's a space, like the alien.
Yeah, real UFOs. Here's the UFO, and they show the little white circle in the right corner where you're supposed to look to see where the UFO is in the sky. That's what they had around Batista's hand and Batista's forehead. And
slow motion.
Yeah, slow
motion.
We
know what we did. We know what we did. What's the consequences?
Do you remember there was a camera angle from like the back of the arena that I'd never seen before?
No, where did that camera come from?
It was like a secret, like that. That's why
it was Big Brother. It was the Big Brother camera.
It was. Yeah. You never pick your nose in the arena because someone's always filming.
Right.
So yeah, they like Dave just said over and over again, slow motion. Here it is one way, and here it is another way, and here it is another way, and it's like you said, we get it. There's blood involved. We did it. Now, you had told me earlier in the day that I'm going to get some blood, get some color. And I said, listen, man, whatever you want to do, just, whatever.
Right.
And I didn't really get much more into it than that. Right. So I kind of knew, but didn't really know.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have fallen on you. And it was kind of, it was my choice, and it was me kind of being rebellious. I knew we weren't supposed to do it, but to me, it just felt like the right thing to do. And I was really kind of a little bitter about the way the direction we were going with the company. I wasn't on board. I wasn't a part of the program, and so I was being a little rebellious. And I knew I would get consequences, but I thought I would get the consequences, and I didn't think they would be as harsh as they were.
So Vince is there, and he's like, "I could fire you, but that would be too easy."
Yeah, right.
So he said, "Tell him what he said."
And he starts passing out fines, and I think did he give you guys first?
No, you were first.
Was I first? So my fine was $100,000.
I will never forget that.
My heart dropped, man, because I thought it was going to be like $25,000. I thought that was going to be like harsh, and I knew it was going to sting. And when he said $100,000, I was just heartbroken. I literally think that he sucked the life out of me that day. That's when
really?
I think that's the day that I knew I was, things were never going to be the same.
Wow, yeah, interesting. We've never really talked about this before.
No, it really. Because I felt like I did the right thing, and I felt like I did what was good for. I did the right thing. I did it was good business. It was This was the stuff that was instilled in us that we were supposed to do. This is what makes our business special. This what makes us a brotherhood. We do this for our company. We do this for our fans. And he just literally sucked the life out of me by punishing me for doing that. It broke my heart. It broke my heart.
Yeah, I like I said, we've never talked about this, and that really, I couldn't believe when he said that.
Yeah, I couldn't.
$100,000, and I honestly, from my perspective, he came to me next, and it was like the angel of death, like in Jericho, because he said, and none of you even called me, and I was like, I called you.
Yeah, you did. You did.
He's like, well, none of you even called me, but you. And so when he was handing those fines, I think I would have. I don't know if I would have got the 100, but I think I would have got.
Yeah.
But he ended up. He's like, and you $5,000.
Right.
And I remember I almost started laughing, like $5,000. Like, what are you smiling? I'm like, nothing. And he fined Dean $5,000, which, you know, those guys will make a lot of money.
That
Dean,
hurt, man.
Hurt Dean, and then Kyoto $5,000 too.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I will say this as man to man, gained so much respect for that day because you paid everybody's fines.
Yeah, but you know,
all of ours.
what really broke my heart is Dean, because he was the one guy. He knew nothing about
he
it.
He literally knew nothing
He
about
knew
it.
nothing about it, man.
And Vince was on his case, like, you should have known. You should know about these guys.
Yeah.
Like, how would he know?
That really sucked. That really hurt me. Because Dean's a good dude, man.
Great guy.
He didn't deserve
And he
that.
didn't know.
He had no idea, man. He got punished, and I felt like I stabbed him in the back, and he didn't deserve it. It really sucked, man.
And like I said, that's probably the biggest fine I've ever heard of in my life.
It was so ridiculous, man. And it was to prove a point. And it was just, it really did. It broke my heart, man, because I just felt like that was, I did what was right, man. I got punished for it, and
that hurts too. I mean, I don't care if you're Donald Trump. $100,000 is.
That's a lot of money.
Kurt Angle is another wrestler who was frustrated after getting into a real WWE fight. There used to be a WWE reality TV show called Tough Enough where people would compete to become a WWE wrestler. Outside of some successful names like John Morrison, Maven, and The Miz, many of the people on the show kind of failed to make it in the WWE. Daniel Puder is one of those failures. On an episode of SmackDown, Kurt Angle was in a segment where he was going to have a shoot wrestling match with a competitor of his choice. The problem with this was that he just had surgery and wasn't 100%.
I just had neck surgery my second time, so I didn't have feeling in my arms. And Vince wanted me to do this shoot thing with the Tough Enough group, and Daniel Puder was one of them.
With that said, Vince McMahon told him that the one person he should not pick was Daniel Puder because of his wrestling background, and this is what Angle said about that.
And the one thing Vince told me, though, beforehand, he said, I know your neck's messed up. I know you can't feel your arms. Just don't pick Daniel Puder. So when you tell me not to pick somebody, guess what? I'm going to pick that person.
Daniel Puder and Kurt Angle proceeded to have a wrestling match. It was not going well because Puder was winning and was seconds away from breaking Kurt's arm. The referee realized this and saved the day when he quickly counted to 3, putting an end to this match by having Kurt Angle win. After this real incident, a few of the boys in the back gave Daniel Puder his receipts.
Bob Holly, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit, they decide they're going to with him during the Royal Rumble. They chop the out of him for about 10 minutes.
Let's take a look at the footage of those chops at the Royal Rumble.
It's like, oh! Man, well, it is every man. Peter's chest. Yeah, it looks like.
Due to PG guidelines, it's extremely rare for WWE to script male-on-female violence in any way. Therefore, when Scott Dawson brushed past Alexa Bliss backstage on Raw, Vince McMahon was furious, and according to Dawson on his podcast, McMahon chewed him out directly in gorilla position.
And we came to the back. She had a backstage deal. I remember we were supposed to come in and we were supposed to be very animated and happy that we won. So I come in, pretended like I was playing the trumpet or something. And I was in a marching band, and I marched by Alexa, and my shoulder barely brushed her shoulder. Barely brushed it. I begged people to go back and watch it. Barely brushed her shoulder. As soon as it was over, we got called into the gorilla position, and Vince chewed me out because he said, men don't touch women. And I was like, Vince, well, I was just walking past, you know, in a pre-tape, you're confined to a very small shot, and everyone has to be shot in that you can't get out of the picture. And I was like, I barely touched her, Vince. And it wasn't like I came and gave her a shoulder tackle or I snubbed her like this, you know. I was just walking past her and barely brushed. So I remember getting in trouble, which probably set the course for the rest of our tenure there.
It's all because of the shoulder bump. Everything.
I guess so.
The debut of the Nexus resulted in one of the most famous WWE firings of all time, as due to Daniel Bryan going off script, the WWE would release him with immediate effect. According to Wade Barrett, the script for the segment was incredibly loose, and when it came to the Bryan and Justin Roberts spot, all Bryan was informed to do was kick Roberts. Naturally, due to Bryan choking Roberts with his tie, this was seen as too far and it completely shattered PG guidelines. It was said at the time that a lot of the anger surprisingly wasn't even from Vince McMahon, but instead it was mainly from sponsors and relevant partners. It was ultimately Vince McMahon who made the call to bring Bryan back just a short time later, and Bryan would end up becoming one of McMahon's favorite stars years after the incident.
And then tell us what happened to you on that very first night.
Yeah, so essentially we were just kind of all pulled into an office and just kind of said, hey, this is what we'd like to do, this is how we'd like you to be, and we'd like this to be essentially a gang-style beatdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of, we were given a little bit of direction, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and then so we were able to just kind of go out there and then do whatever we kind of wanted. Well, it turns out you couldn't really do whatever you wanted.
So Cena's in the ring, Cena's in the ring, and then all you guys kind of converge and then just attack him.
Yeah.
Right.
So John Cena was in the ring, and then we all like come down from the crowd and like
it was a great
jump
moment
over the barricade, and I thought it was just a very cool visual, and we start beating up John Cena, and then we start tearing apart the ring and all this kind of stuff, and then within that melee, we ripped the shirt off of Justin Roberts, and because it was like a gang-style beatdown, and I didn't know the confines of what PG really is.
Right.
But to me, here's Justin Roberts with no shirt on and a tie around his neck. And so I thought, oh, this will be great. And I pulled back on the tie, and then so I did that, and then we're all doing stuff to John, right?
Right.
So, like everybody's doing their big thing to John, and I kicked him in the head, but right before I kicked him in the head, I spit in his face. And so it was funny because like they didn't really know who was doing what when we were out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like so we got back and it's like, oh, who choked Justin Roberts with that tie? I was like, oh, that was me. No choking. Who spit in who's spitting Cena's face? Me. No spitting. It's like all this stuff. And I'm like, oh crap. And it's funny because that was on a Monday in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday we went to SmackDown, but we didn't do anything. Wednesday I had to do something for the for FCW's the developmental thing.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to Miz, and like because we did I don't remember what we did. I was talking to Miz, and he was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It'll all blow over. And actually on the Tuesday at SmackDown, Michael Hayes was like, okay, Daniel, what did you learn from last night? I said, no choking, no spitting. Good. It's not bad to make mistakes. You just have to learn from them. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And then Miz was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It'll blow over. Friday, I get a call from Vince himself telling me that they had to let me go. And it's
wow. And what was the reasoning?
But it's funny because one of my responses, which I think really helped me, was I wasn't that bothered.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I saw like the unknown number, I was like, oh, like I kind of had this feeling, this sense of dread, and I was like, but one of the things that I had said to him, I said, well, thank you for the opportunity, and he's like, no, this is, I'm sorry we have to do this, but we have to do it. And I said, well, don't feel bad for me because I'm going to make more money this year than I've ever made before, just on the independents, just based off that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I knew that took him aback a little bit because John Laurinaitis followed up on me with the details of like, okay, what happens now, right?
Right.
And he said, did you tell Vince that you were going to make more money this year than you'd ever had before? And I said, yeah, because realistically I wasn't making any money with WWE because I didn't have the developmental contract that the other guys had.
What did Vince tell you as to why he had to let you go?
Because they were we're a PG company and we have sponsors and we have this and that, and I don't remember what he said as far as complaining, but he said he apologized to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't apologize. Like, he said, I'm sorry that I have to do this, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we have advertisers and we have this who depend on us being a PG company, and if I don't do something to kind of reprimand you now, then people will say in the future, if they do something like that, well, Daniel Bryan got away with it, or this guy got away with it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of his justification for it. But he was actually very nice to me on the phone, as far as that goes. It wasn't like, you're an idiot. So yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's how all that went.
The same thing happened to me when I got suspended for kicking the flag in Brazil. It was the same thing. He's like, I have to suspend you. I'm like, for what? And he's like, because I have to show the world that if this stuff happens, that I have no mercy and I will reprimand you and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of the way that he feels. And I guess in a way it's justified. You got to protect himself and make sure that people know that this kind of stuff is not allowed. Although much like you, I didn't know that kicking a flag wasn't allowed,
Right. Yeah. And I remember when that happened with you, and I was sitting there thinking, like, that's just pro wrestling, right?
That's right, man.
I would go over to England for a long period of time. Like in 2003, I went there for like 6 months straight, and I was doing the Butland shows every night, and like I was constantly doing stuff to their flag, and I was going out there and singing the American national anthem, and like all that kind of stuff. And never once do you think like, oh, I shouldn't do this. You just think, oh, it's pro wrestling, and this is the way I'm going to get people to hate me.
That's right. It's just typical heel stuff, right?
When Daniel Bryan retired on Raw in early 2016, the idea was that talent would simply head backstage following the show, and they wouldn't be actively involved in the retirement ceremony. However, Titus O'Neil didn't follow direct instructions, and as a result, O'Neil had a confrontation with Vince that almost got him fired. As the WWE talent made their way backstage, Titus grabbed McMahon's arm to imply that he should be letting Stephanie McMahon exit the stage first, and McMahon was absolutely livid with this seemingly polite act. McMahon had to be talked out of firing O'Neil by Triple H, and McMahon eventually would settle on a 60-day suspension. It's been said by a number of talent backstage that at the time McMahon was at his most vulnerable, mainly due to his positive relationship with Daniel Bryan, so this likely explains why McMahon reacted in such an erratic manner. Batista even spoke about this incident, defending his good friend Titus O'Neil.
I know you're tight with Titus O'Neil, right? And you tweeted something about, people asking what your opinion on it was with Vince McMahon's severe suspension.
Right.
You tweeted that he should just resign, right?
I tweeted that she should ask her to resign.
So it's kind of like this. A lot of people feel like they should be like the NFL and do like a unionization.
Right. It'll never happen.
It'll never happen? Why not?
Because wrestlers are too expendable. Professional wrestlers, we're not even really employees of the company. We're, independent contractors. So.
You think Titus got shafted?
We got shafted. That's bullshit. That should have been a man-to-man conversation, not a suspension.
Right, and it was totally like, I looked at the video like 5 times. It's totally like, he's like,
Well, he was being playful with Vince, which we all are, because Vince is a very physical, playful guy. Even if it was at the wrong time, that again, it's a man-on-man, it's a one-on-one conversation, man. It's not all of a sudden don't turn into somebody's boss because you didn't like the way they touched you. So it's not only did he him with the suspension and the fine, but he just double him by taking WrestleMania away from him. So that's why I said just leave, man.
You think he should leave?
I think he should leave. I think that's one dude who doesn't have to be there. He's there because he loves it.
He made enough dough to be cool.
Oh, he can make more money doing a million other things. And Titus is a talented dude, educated dude. He doesn't need to be there. He's there because he loves it. So.
Vince McMahon had a set of words that talent were not permitted to say under any circumstances. In 2017, Braun Strowman, who WWE were positioning as a main eventer, decided to say title shot instead of title match during a promo exchange on Raw. Title shot was a taboo phrase in WWE, and due to Strowman not following the scripted promo material, he was going to be verbally reprimanded. According to Mick Foley, Strowman was chewed out in front of everyone in the gorilla position. position, and it was incredibly awkward and embarrassing. This is what Mick Foley said about the incident.
I was about to go out there, right? Just a couple weeks ago, and I heard Braun Strowman say, "I want a title shot." And Mr. McMahon's behind the curtain and, at the board watching the monitor, he goes, "Oh, God," he goes, "It's not a title shot." And I was thinking to myself, what is it? That's exactly what I was going to call it. When I went out there, you want a title shot. And then when I go out there, he's like, it's a title match. It's a match. And so if you ever wonder what it's like to see a 6'8", 380-pound behemoth get chewed out, you should have been there backstage. And as I'm out there, I don't have the same latitude that I used to say anything I want. And my days of tanking interviews on purpose are long since over. They're a thing of the past. I get nervous, and so I was out there and I said, "You want a title?" And all I could think was shot.
No.
And then I went, opportunity, and I got it out there. It wasn't match, but it wasn't shot. Yeah, I don't know why.
But that was back in the day. I remember being there all the time at ringside, and you guys would say title shot. So
title shot.
Obviously, it's not the in anymore to say title shot. Okay, title
Who
opportunity
are we
like that.
to
I know the flavor of the month, right? No, but it's
I don't think the month. It's probably been years. Like it's not like one day Mr. McMahon is suddenly going to allow us to refer to the titles as belts.
Yeah.
When I was a but he has
color
his
commentator.
Reason
for it. That's the crazy thing. He has a reason for it, and then
there are reasons, yeah.
Right, and then you hear his reason of it, and you go, "Oh, I never looked at it that way. That's kind of okay. I get it."
The fictional demise of the evil Mr. McMahon character was supposed to have a serious tone. Therefore, when McMahon was walking backstage to his limo before it exploded, it was a problem when WWE star Paul London decided to deliver the funniest facial expression imaginable and could not contain his laughter. London would fall out of favor with WWE management immediately after going off script and doing this. It was claimed that due to London going off script, he was moved dramatically down the card, and this may have even contributed to his WWE release the following year. In 2017, it was widely reported that both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn had been sent home from a WWE European tour for bad behavior. It turned out that during a SmackDown show, both men decided to just ignore the script for their segment. It was claimed by various sources at the time that both men were to be beaten down by the New Day, but for whatever reason, they both ignored it and just simply headed to the back of the locker room before the spot in the ring could get underway. This was a fascinating story at the time, as although it was confirmed that the two were pulled from the tour, their standing on TV didn't remotely change, and they were even booked to win on the next pay-per-view. The curtain call is one of the most famous and well-known wrestling moments of all time. It took place at a live event in 1996, and after Shawn Michaels wrestled Diesel in the main event, Triple H and Razor Ramon came into the ring to embrace both men. This moment completely shattered kayfabe, and it sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. Diesel and Ramon had signed for WCW at this time, and this was HBK and Triple H's way of saying goodbye to their real-life friends. This moment was completely unscripted, and all the backstage anger fell on Triple H. HBK was virtually untouchable around this time, and Diesel and Ramon were already leaving for WCW. The game's push was brought to a sudden halt, and any plans for him to win the 1996 King of the Ring were put on hold, and his push was given to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who managed to break away from the pack and become a household name in the months that followed. And this is Triple H telling the entire story.
So we went back, we all had dinner together at this diner and stuff like that, and we were all like, well, that was crazy what just happened and all that shit. And big moment. So the next day I'm off. The next day I'm driving up. I lived in New Hampshire at the time, driving back up, and as soon as I get home, there's a message from Vince's office, his secretary, saying Vince would like to see you first thing in the morning tomorrow. And I'm like, this isn't gonna be good. Like, he ain't calling to go like, wonderful job. Like, it's my day off. I gotta go there. So I literally turn around, drive all the way back, go back to the office the next day, and this is the meeting where everybody's freaking out. And Vince was even putting it on. I wasn't so sure that he was upset with it everybody else. And you have to understand, all the producers and agents backstage that help with the show and everything are a generation before ours. So they're of the generation of protect the business at all costs. Bad guys don't ride with good guys, right?
Yeah.
To some degree. They all go nuts when they see this. And now Kevin's leaving, Scott's leaving, and to those producers and agents, well, look, it looks bad for Vince. It looks like the inmates are running the asylum and he doesn't have control over these guys, this group, the clique, is doing whatever they want and they spit right in your face. And if you don't do something, it looks bad. It's a disrespectful type thing. And I don't think Vince took it that way, but I think that's what he always had a saying, perception is reality. And perception amongst them was this. And so, as soon I knew, I wasn't sure. I'm like, well, I'm either going to get fired or this is going to be I'm going to get this is going to be heavy. And,
what a drive from New Hampshire.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I was, I was kind of like, well, it is what it is. Right?
Okay.
And I'm a big believer in if you're going to do something that in your mind, is kind of up, you cannot cry afterwards with whatever comes about from it. You made the decision to do it. So if the ramifications of that are way worse than you thought, well, that's on you.
It is what it is.
You made the choice. So, it's a pretty heavy meeting, and Vince is like, look, it's unfair. It's all these things, but Kev's leaving, Scott's leaving. I can't do anything to them. Kid wasn't there, but Shawn was there, but he's the WWE champion.
Shawn Michaels is the champ. Can't punish the champ.
There's not much I can do to him.
So you're like, I guess we call it a wash, right? We just move on, huh?
And and he was like, well, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying I should fire you. And I'm like, okay, what are you saying? And he said, I don't want to fire you. I think you're incredibly talented. I want you here, but I've got to do something. And so he goes, you were going to win King of the Ring. That's going to go away. You were going to do this program with Shawn. That's going to go away.
Damn.
You are going to, and this is one of Vince's favorite sayings, but this was the time when he said it to me when it hit the hardest. He said, you are going to have to learn to eat platefuls of and like the taste of it.
Damn.
And okay, and I said, so well, the one thing, I was accepting of it. Obviously, it hit hard, but I was accepting of it. And I said to him before I left, I said, because he said, but if you want to leave, he said, I understand. This is not all on you. If you want to leave, if you think you can get a job with Turner with those guys, if you want to leave, I understand that. I'll make it where there's a loophole in your contract.
Oh, that's decent.
And you can get out.
Did you consider it? Did you look into it?
I didn't want. I had come from there.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So before I came in, so I kind of knew, even though it had risen dramatically and their business had gone through the roof, I was like, I don't want to be there. I'm here for a reason. This is the place where they can make me.
What felt better? What felt different?
They didn't have a clue what they were doing there.
Okay.
And it was literally the inmates running the asylum. And I knew that you knew you had a boss right here. You knew that there was one place to get the final answer from, and that it came from one place. And that sometimes that's all you need, is whether you like the decision or you don't, you need somebody to make a decision. It can't be, well, I think this, and then you go to this guy and he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And he's got some kind of creative control, but this other guy's got creative control too. And it's just a mess, man. It's a mess. So one of the things I said to Vince was, I said, I don't want to leave. I said, but if I have no choice, then, well, that's what I have to do. But I said, let me just ask a question. I said, I did the crime. I'll take all the punishment, but I have to know, is there a point where this ends? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? I'm willing to go through all the I'm willing to take it. I'm willing to do the time for what I did, but I got to know there's an end point on it. If you say to me, I can't get out of this, then I got to go. But if you say to me, no, it'll be a period of time, and then you'll get the opportunity, as long as I'm still delivering to where you feel like I deserve that opportunity, if I can get that opportunity, then I stay. And he said, as far as I'm concerned, there's no issue with me. He said, as far as I'm concerned, when you walk out that door of my office, it's over. it's all done, and you're on flat ground with me. He said, but I gotta, for a period of time, I gotta put this out to everybody else that you're and then once I feel like that's been enough, then as long as you're still delivering, you get the opportunity to come back up. So I left there, and one of the things that I said to him before I left is I went to the door and I stopped and I said, hey, I just want to ask you one thing, and I just want it to be something that you think about, because it's been resonating with me, is I understand everybody's point of view, but the world is changing and the business is changing. And I said, if what we did was so bad, then why was the largest or the loudest reaction of the entire night what we did? Like, if what we did was so bad, isn't our job to entertain those people that all paid? I guarantee you the one thing they left there saying is, holy shit, at the end, they all came out. It was this moment. It was real, right? Like I said, the business is changing, and we're either going to change with it or it's going to pass us by. And he sat there for a second and he said, you might be right, but right now isn't the moment.
That's actually wise, yeah.
And I left. And then, I went from being the guy that was going to win King of the Ring to being the guy that was losing in the first round, and Jake Roberts, who was, fairly old at the time, was sticking the snake down my pants as a ha-ha thing. And, I had to, I got every detail, every bad thing I got given to me.
What are examples of that? Like, what are examples of you getting
whoever was the worst guy that they wanted me to get over, like, just go put that guy, go get beat.
So you would have to wrestle these guys that they're trying to build up, and they all have to beat you.
Yeah, and I'm not on any media anymore. I'm not featured in the shows.
Right. You're just there. You're a B-side fighter.
I'm just at best. Right. At best.
In boxing, we'd call it a tomato can.
Yeah. At best. And then so, time went on, and eventually it got to a point where I'm a big believer in, like, if you're talented, and I'll say that about myself, I guess, in that manner, but if you believe in yourself and you believe in your talent, then they can't only hold that back for so long. That'll eventually come out, and it'll eventually rise to the top. And it's not about the storyline they give you always, or the thing they give you. It's about creating your moments. This is something I tell talent all the time: maximize your minutes. So even if I went out there with a detail, I would find something in there for me to have a moment. Oh, that was good. Or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I would have that one moment where I at least felt like I came back and I was like, that was horrible, but I at least got this out of it.
Made the best of it.
Yeah.
During the classic Mickie James versus Trish Stratus match at WrestleMania 22, James decided to go off script by performing a gesture that was not PG at all. James was under the impression that Vince McMahon would love the improvised act, but she couldn't have been more wrong. McMahon hated it so much so that he yelled at James backstage and informed her that the WWE are going to need to edit it out with immediate effect. James had just won the women's title on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania, and getting yelled at brought her right back to reality.
Could you tell me what happened at that WrestleMania when you did that censored moment?
Yeah, you have to dig deep to find these days. It was not approved.
Okay. Oh, so you pitched it first?
I pitched it in a sense.
Okay.
I'll just tell whatever. So I asked if I could lick my finger to Steve Kern, who was our agent at the time, I think. And I remember asking Steve, and he's like, "Oh, lick your finger like how?" And I was like, "Oh, because I knew I was doing this moment thing where I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. Like, I felt like this would be something. In the moment, it felt like this. Yeah. Was the right choice.
For that storyline,
For everything, to me. And I honestly thought I was going to come back and be like, I was going to get high-fived, a raise, maybe, It was not. That was not the reaction I got, and I felt horrible.
It was not good at all. I got yelled at. He was like, oh my God. He's like, we have to edit this out of everything. And I'm like, oh no. I went back to the locker room and cried. And then I went back to my room and I cried some more. Because I was like, I'm going to get fired. And I was like, oh my God, I worked for this so hard. Yeah. It was awful. Like, best day ever turned into like the worst night ever. I'm not sorry because it was so awesome and people still talk about it and they still bring it up to me. Every signing I do, every time I get interviewed, they always bring up that one moment because it was freaking awesome.
The WWE title match at WrestleMania 8 between Ric Flair and Randy Savage is vastly underrated, and one of the reasons the match stands out so much is because of the bloodshed in the matchup. At the time, the WWE did not allow their talent to blade, and no blood was scripted to be in the matchup. In typical Flair fashion, he decided to outright ignore this, and he decided to blade in the match. McMahon would fine both men $5,000 each, and it acted as a costly reminder that McMahon's rules weren't to be broken. Vince McMahon had completely enough of Big Cass by the time that they released him in 2018. Big Cass was given the opportunity of a lifetime by being the first person to feud with Daniel Bryan, yet a number of incidents as well as going off script led to McMahon making the executive call to terminate his contract. The incident that saw Cass go off script involved a mini Daniel Bryan, and Cass was only supposed to hit a mini big boot. However, Cass decided to go off script and continue the beatdown. McMahon would chew him out within seconds of him coming through Gorilla, and his release would shortly follow after that.
Yeah, did you know that a WWE release would be imminent?
Yeah, I had a feeling. I was really acting out and really making a lot of mistakes in a fairly short amount of time, and I definitely expected it, that's for sure.
Like, you had a big match at the pay-per-view that weekend.
Money in the Bank. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 days later, you're released. Without them wishing you well in your future endeavors, too.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but I do, I remember the day that I was fired. It was a meeting with Vince, and me and him and Carano were in there for quite a while, and we had a really good conversation, and it was more of a conversation about the performance was maybe touched upon for a minute in terms of, who Big Cass. That whole conversation was mostly about William Morrissey. And, I don't know why the future endeavors wasn't, I don't know. I don't look into that, but I thought it was, I thought it was amicable when I left that building that day.
The next one is Chris Jericho. After he came out and a fan would throw a DX glow stick at him, he went off script and told the fans to throw more at him, and this led to fans throwing tons of sticks at him. Stephanie McMahon was furious with him and said that she would punish him, and that's when Jericho got even more mad at Stephanie and would confront Vince about it. And let's listen to Jericho tell the entire story.
DX was selling glow sticks, like rave glow sticks that glow in the dark. And there was a big brouhaha because the people at the O2 thought they might be used as weapons and they weren't going to let them sell them. So they finally were able to let them sell them. Once again, main event was me and John Cena. Come to the ring, start doing my promo. Whatever it was, typical heel thing. People are booing. And some dude, lo and behold, hits me in the eye with a glow stick. And he hit me in the eye hard. It pissed me off. And I was like, all right. You want to throw stuff at me? Go ahead. Everyone start throwing stuff at me. Come on, what do you got? And dude, you can go on YouTube. There is a snowstorm of these glow sticks, and they're throwing them. Like, there must have been 100. And I remember being like a ninja, like Sugar Ray Leonard, box them out of the way. Boom, boom. So some of them hit me, but they didn't know they hit Cena's music. He came down, whatever. After the show, Sean and Hunter, furious.
Why?
Because there was glow sticks and
they hadn't gone out yet.
They had gone out.
Oh, okay.
Because people were people bought these things for 10 pounds each and threw them away to hit me. Some kid got hit or something, and they gave him a T-shirt, and then Sean's like, I just saved you from getting arrested. And I'm so mad because all anybody's doing is yelling at me for starting this riot. Meanwhile, it's like Slapshot. I got hit with a monkey wrench, and I was told by Johnny Ace that Stephanie wants you fined and she wants you suspended. And I'm like, well, Stephanie's not my boss. I don't give a shit Stephanie wants. You can tell her that. And I called Vince and I cut a promo on the answering machine. If this, I got heat out there, and Vince McMahon, the corporate boss, might hate it, but Mr. McMahon, the heel, would love this. This is my job. This is what I'm here to do. At the end of the night, the babyface beat me. What's the problem? You're going to fine me and suspend me for getting heat? I said, bring it on, MRFer. Come on. And he just texted me back with a little smiley face and said, calm down, Junior. And the next day at the Garden, went and saw him, and he's like, he didn't even mention it. He's like, yeah, of course you got heat. What's the problem? I said, that's what I mean. What's the problem? He's like, there's no problem. And I'm like, okay.
The Ultimate Warrior was forced to make an apology video to a kid. The story goes that a WWE fan noticed Warrior in public and asked him if he was the Ultimate Warrior, and that is when he reportedly snapped at the kid. McMahon was not happy about this, especially because the child's parents knew people who worked in the company. Regardless of Warrior denying this, McMahon still made him apologize, and this is when things got a little out of hand.
Regret certain things that they should. Yeah, I know. I don't know what the to say. I didn't say nothing to the goddamn kid.
As you can see, the Ultimate Warrior explodes and continues to deny the story, claiming he doesn't even know why he needs to apologize. Vince McMahon had the difficult job of keeping him calm so they could finish the video. It clearly does not work as the Ultimate Warrior gets more frustrated.
Well, no, you don't, because I'm making a videotape to some kid.
It's a
not
work.
An apology.
It's a work.